You can learn a lot about yourself in the first few minutes of the day in the morning. This morning, of course, I woke up and there's always that first conversation of exactly how quickly you're going to get out of bed. And I laid there and actually had to scold myself after 4 or 5 minutes saying, it just gets harder with each passing minute. So I jumped up and got out of bed and went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror and just saw age. And I wondered about getting old. I wondered how to prepare for that, knowing that it just keeps going. So far, it's been a great sense of humor. So far, it's been laughing at things like that and knowing that ultimately they have absolutely no importance whatsoever. To watch time pass and still really feel like I'm just watching time pass. My sense of self inside hasn't changed. But I started to think, why? Why is there so much decay? Why is there so much death in the world and so much sadness in the world? And I caught myself thinking like that, and I thought, that is ridiculous to think like that. For every death, there's a birth, so why not think about that instead? And that got me pondering to how strange the nature of the world is that it can support any kind of thinking. There are so many things to be known in the world and so little capacity to know within our body and mind that we can come up with any angle, any perspective. And you can see that today more than ever in the world with people in vaccines and people with all of these conspiracy theories going all the time, with politicians saying one thing, doing another, and just craziness, the insanity, really, of everything that we're watching. Were it not being tied to a body that has to be subject to it, it would be a hilariously funny drama to watch, a comedy of errors, as it were. But I began to think how odd it was that we live in a world that can support anything, that can support any idea. Of course, some of them will be more in line with what's real, what's really supportable, and what's not. But nonetheless, everybody who believes the things that they believe, no matter how odd and bizarre and how far out they are, has a reason for that. But it's not normally the things itself. Like, most people really can't put forward a coherent, convincing argument for what they think or believe. It's an intuitive feeling. It's a disposition that's expressed through thinking something or believing something. It's a disposition that's manifesting a point rather than really being open to learning, being a student of life. I dug into some of the scriptures and writings of Swami Vivekananda as a means to kind of just hearing out what he has to say. By thinking only of the spirit and keeping the mind out of matter all the time, I can catch a glimpse of that ideal. Material thought and forms of the sense world have no place in that ideal. Take them off. Put the mind upon the spirit. Forget your life and your death. Forget your pains and your pleasures. Forget your name and fame, and realize that you are neither body nor mind, but the pure spirit. When I say I mean this spirit. Close your eyes and see what picture appears when you think of your I. Is it the picture of your body that comes, or of your mental nature? If so, you have not realized your true I. The time will come, however, when as soon as you say I, you will see the universe, that infinite being. What a thing to look forward to. What a marvelous thing to look forward to. This practice of trying to put the mind on this pure spirit. It's really quite an exercise in the nature of things, because it's not a thing. It's not something that can be perceived. Sri Nisargadatta makes that point. He says if it's something can be perceived, It is by necessity not you. So when you are trying to conceive of your face without having ever seen a mirror, what do you think of? Well, you don't think of anything. It's the absence that implies your face. It's the what you haven't seen that implies what you are. Thinking of the nature of the world, if anything can be supported, if any perspective can be taken, if we can choose to think what we think and then go gather facts later, what is the condition of the world? What is the nature of this thing that we're experiencing? There was a class going on, and Alice Hansborough wrote a reminiscence of Swami Vivekananda in a conversation that he had at Camp Taylor up in Northern California. It's in a grove of redwood trees, a wonderful, wonderful place where Swamiji went camping for quite a few number of days, just shy of 2 weeks, I think, where he would meditate in the grove and they'd sit by the creek and cook their food. It's quite an amazing place to go see. Anyway, they got to spend 2 weeks with the master there. And in one of their conversations, Mrs. Bell says, "This world is an old schoolhouse where we've come to learn our lessons." That's something that people like to think, that this world is kind of a lesson, that we're here to learn something, that we're sitting in a classroom of nature. It's quite surprising, though, that Swami Vivekananda takes a completely different turn in this instance. He says, "Who told you that?" Mrs. Bell could not remember. "Well, I don't think so. I think this world is a circus ring in which we are clowns tumbling," which, given the circumstance of today, I'm bound to agree with Swamiji. This world is a circus, and we are indeed clowns tumbling. And we've got some major tumbling with some major clowns going on. And what a delight from that perspective. But Ms. Bell was like, "Well, why do we tumble? Why would we do this? Why?" And Swamiji says, "Because we like it. We do this. This world is as it is because we do what we like. We do what we're attracted to." He says, "And when we get tired, well, then we'll stop. Then we'll stop. When it's no longer satisfying, when the five senses and all of their possible combinations become uninteresting to us, then maybe we'll find a different sense of I. Maybe we'll set everything down and become aware of a greater ideal, a deeper understanding of being." That time is important. My last reading from Swamiji comes from volume 8 of his Lectures and Discourses, and he says something quite beautiful to us. "Whatever you dream and think of, you create. If it is hell, you die and see hell. If it is evil and Satan, you get a Satan. If ghosts, well, then you get ghosts. Whatever you think, that you become. If you have to think good thoughts, great thoughts. This taking for granted that you are weak little worms. By declaring we are weak, we become weak. We do not become better. You become what you think. You become the perspective that you adopt in this world. Stop thinking that it's all the result of some great contemplation that you've had, some great understanding of a thought castle you have compiled over so many years of careful consideration. Chances are it's one or two Google searches and a good friend's opinion and a little bit of ego tapped in with some happiness, ignorance, and off you are with your conspiracy theory of the day. Let go. Let go of the ego. Let go of the need to know. Open the heart. Let out what's in there. Let out the love. Let out the intelligence. Let out the imagination of great things. Create. Manifest.